The Alabama Supreme Court will not dismiss a lawsuit between a large Dothan church and the United Methodist Church. News 4's Caroline Gerhardt joins us live from the newsroom to explain more about this ruling. Caroline, bring us up to speed on this case.
McKenna, Harvest Church filed suit against the Methodist Church in November 2022, claiming fear they would lose their property. The UMC wanted that suit tossed out, saying the argument is a church matter, not a legal one. Months after the Supreme Court hearing, the dismissal was denied. Judges say the UMC attorneys did not provide enough evidence to support scrapping the case. The ruling states the suit will continue in trial court for further proceedings. McKenna.
Caroline, thank you. News 4 has been following this case since November of 2022, and we will continue to cover it. For previous coverage, go to WTVY.com.